necessities. They lived very nicely for some time. But there was a demon of the name Bakasura, a different one than during Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, different one but same name. And he was terrorizing the people of Ekachakra, so they made a bargain with the demon. Once a month, we'll supply a whole wagon load full of food, pulled by a horse, and somebody driving the horse, and you can eat the wagon load of food, you can eat the horse, and you can eat the driver. So it was a deal. It's like a truce. So one day, here's the scene. Kunti is overhearing that the family she was staying with, the young boy it was their turn to sacrifice their son, and they were beside themselves with anxiety. What to do? Kunti, overhearing this, she approached them and said, here's what to do. I'll send one of my sons. And the family said, no, you're our guest. We can't have you sacrifice one of your sons in favor of one of our sons. And she said, you don't understand my sons. It's no problem. This one, the one with the big shoulders, he can go. So he didn't call them Bhima, but because they were hiding out. And so Bhima drove the cart. And Bhima's Vrikasura quality, Vrikodara quality, he could consume. He's with one hand driving the horse and the other hand is eating the food in the cart. By the time he got to where the Bakasura demon was, things were pretty much gone. So the Bakasura demon was very angry. He attacked Bhima. Bhima just fought him off with one hand and continued eating with the other hand till he finished everything in the cart. Then he smashed the Bakasura demon. Finished. When you go to Ekachakra one time, you may, if you allow a little extra time, you can go to the place where the body of the Bakasura demon was thrown in the air, somebody just a long distance away. And they have the remains of this gigantic body of Bakasura's bones. So, big battle, Bakasura is finished. After some time, the Pandavas leave. It's 8:45. I have to finish the story, right? I can't stop now, right? Okay. They're in the forest, and it's time for Draupadi's Swayamvar. And the father of Draupadi is Drupada. And the brother of Draupadi is Drishtadyumna. They were born at the same time from a fire because King Drupad wanted to get back at Drona. But although it was Arjuna, who the student of Drona, that defeated him, he wanted Arjuna to marry his daughter. Because when there's an alliance with a person who's so powerful they could defeat him, he could defeat any enemy, including Drona. Very calculating. Should I say it again? Is it clear? He wanted Draupadi to marry Arjuna. He didn't have enmity towards Arjuna. He had enmity towards Drona. He wanted his daughter to marry Arjuna. So he made an arrangement for a challenge that only Arjuna could win for her hand in marriage. So when the Pandavas are walking along the road, dressed like mendicant brahmanas, they see all this group of people going to Drupad's palace to attend the Swayamvar of Draupadi, and said, why don't you come along? going to be a big festival. So they went. And the challenge was, there's a pool of water, and the archer had to look at the pool of water, which means a reflection of an object that was there's a revolving disc and a hole in the revolving disc, and the other side of the hole of the revolving disc was a fish, a golden fish, not a real live fish. And you're supposed to look at the water. You can't look up. You have to look at the reflection, so it's backwards. And then the disc is revolving, and shoot the arrow through the revolving disc and pierce the eye of the fish. Like, who can do that? Arjuna can do that. And so Drishtadyumna announced in the royal assembly all the princes and kings, and Draupadi, is like such an all-attractive, beautiful personality. Woo, woo, woo. You want to marry Draupadi? Kind of kings. And he announced the challenge. And one after one after one after one after one, impossible. He couldn't do it. Then Karna came forward. Karna, the first son of Kunti. He came forward and said, I want to do it. And she said, no way, because you're a Sudra. You've been raised by the chariot driver of Dhritarashtra, so a chariot driver's son can't marry a queen, a Kshatriya girl. You can't compete. He was fried, as they say in ISKCON. He was fried. So Arjuna stepped forward and said, if you allow, then I can try. And everybody looked at everybody and said, well, if Brahmanas can try, sure, you can try. And so Arjuna took the challenge, looking at the reflection in the lake. Here's another image. Draupadi's there with the garland. No, it's a famous incident. Here he's cheating. He's looking directly at the not proper drawing. And Arjuna was successful. He pierced the eye of this golden fish, and with a big clatter, the golden fish fell to the ground. Everyone's astonished. And there's Draupadi happily ready to accept Arjuna as her wife. Now notice, in the assembly there are also Krishna and Arjuna. Krishna and Balaram, thank you. Now what were Krishna and Balaram doing there? The answer is, they had come to attend the funeral of the Pandavas and Kunti. Although they knew that Pandavas and Kunti were dead, but they came to attend the funeral. They're part of the same royal family. And they stayed for a while, and then the Swayamvar happened shortly after, so they're in the assembly. They saw all this happen. Draupadi gives the garland to Arjuna, and then what happens? All the other kings and princes, big battle. So there's Bhima with a big trunk of a tree used for a club, and Arjuna with his arrow, and defeats everybody. And then they go home with Draupadi. When they go home with Draupadi, they're outside the residence where Kunti's staying, because they went without Kunti to this festival. And from the outside, Arjuna says, "Dear mother, we have some very wonderful surprise. A great fortune has come my way." And from inside the house, not seeing what's outside the house, Kunti says, "Very well, but whatever it is, you share amongst the five." Then they come inside, and she's very surprised to see what that very great fortune was that Arjuna had received. So now there's this big dilemma, what to do, because our mother said, share amongst each other. So we have to obey our mother, but how could we violate the principles of Dharma? And, 5 men marrying one wife. What to do? So they went to Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva, because he was always giving advice to the Pandavas, he explained. Drupad, the father of Draupadi, got involved also. So this is in Mahabharata. They went to a little private place, Drupad and Vyas, and Drupad was shown by Vyas that this arrangement for Draupadi was predicted long ago by Lord Shiva, because both Draupadi is the goddess of fortune, and he appeared from the sacrificial fire later to become the Pandava's wife. He explained that in her previous life, Draupadi was undergoing austerities for a long, long time, praying to Lord Shiva to have a husband that would be very qualified. When Lord Shiva appeared before him, she said it 5 times, and he said, very well, you'll have 5 husbands. So Vyasadeva said, anything that Lord Shiva says, you have to follow it. And besides, she's the goddess of fortune, so there's another version of Mahabharata that's not so clear. Vyasadeva allowed Drupad to see that the Pandavas previously had been celestial forms of Indra. That's what this painting is showing. Celestial forms of Indra. So Drupad was convinced. The father was convinced. Yudhisthira was convinced. Vyasadeva said it's okay. And so the marriage went on. And Krishna was part of the wedding party. One of the roles that Krishna played was, during the wedding procession, he was one of the bards, like the glories of Yudhisthira, the glories of Yudhisthira, the glories of... because Krishna likes to glorify his devotees. And the Pandavas. So he was present for the wedding of Draupadi and the 5 brothers. After some time, this is a nice illustration. Draupadi going to be married. Here's Krishna in his capacity as a bard before the marriage. Vidura visits the palace of Drupad after the marriage sometime later, the Panchala kingdom, and he recommends the Pandavas should now come back, because now it's known that they didn't die in the house of lack. Although there was a funeral for them, they're still quite alive, and they've married Draupadi. So Vidura recommends they come back, and when they come back, everyone's happy except Duryodhana. And so there's this whole big hubbub, and what's going to happen, and everyone knows the intrigue that's been going on, the poison of Bhima and the house of lack, and the violation of religious principles. Duryodhana is a bad person. Duryodhana refuses. Finally, Dhritarashtra speaks up and says, we'll give half the kingdom, and they can go live in the forest, that half of the kingdom. So Dhritarashtra gives the Khandava Prastha, that half of the kingdom, to the Pandavas. And while they're in the forest, there's this whole scene where the Khandava forest is on fire, It's a long story. There isn't time to tell the long story. So many Mahabharata long stories. Where Indra was protecting this demon, Mayadanava. Anytime Agni was trying to get some herbs from the forest, it was the rain would come and he couldn't burn the forest. So Krishna helped, Arjuna helped. This demon, Mayadanava, was protected. So Mayadanava came before Arjuna, you protected me, I want to do something for you. Then Krishna said, you can build a palace for the Pandavas in the forest. So Krishna goes back to Dwarka, and Mayadanava builds this fantastic palace. So when Krishna's leaving, here's this nice. My dear Keshava, you are the supreme soul of the universe. You're always kindly disposed toward everyone, but you especially protect your devotees. From the day that Akrura arrived in Hastinapur, I knew you were thinking of the welfare of myself and my sons. This is Kunti speaking to Krishna. I'm confident that whatever difficulties we may experience are arranged by Providence for our ultimate good. That's before Krishna goes back. He takes permission from his aunt to go back to Dwarka. Meanwhile, this fantastic city is built in Indraprastha, and Mayadanava gives some gifts in addition to this fantastic city. The Deva Datta, the conch shell, and club. It goes to Bhima. Mayadanava is very generous, and here you see a drawing of the Indraprastha. Then there's this big, when it's done, Krishna comes, everybody comes. Krishna brings all the queens and the whole entourage from Dwarka. Big festival, opening of this big place, and Duryodhana comes. And there's mystical things about this. One of them is where it's land, it looks like water, where it's water, it looks like land. So Duryodhana falls into a place that looked like land, but it was actually a lake. And everybody's laughing, and Yudhisthira says, don't laugh, it's not nice, he's a royal family. Krishna says, laugh. And because he wanted to aggravate Duryodhana so they could bring about the Kurukshetra battle to bring finish to these and his brothers. So then comes this Rajasuya sacrifice, very famous event. That's where Shishupal lost the speaking part of his body from offending Krishna too many times. Grand festival. Here's the assembly, and details. The detailed painting gives the name of who's who. The ladies are up here, the men are down here, and the names of each one are inscribed in the painting. Fantastic detailed painting. You have to blow it up, and it blows up. Who's who in the whole assembly. Duryodhana can't take it. Duryodhana can't take it. So they arrange this Shakuni gambling match, and Yudhisthira agrees. They lose everything, and they lose again, and lose again, and lose again. They lose again, they lose again. Then finally, Draupadi is gambled, and Dushasana brings Draupadi into the royal assembly. There's all their royal armor, and they're just wearing their bare necessities clothing. Krishna appears to deliver unlimited sari to protect Draupadi in the vicious assembly. Krishna is protecting his devotees all the time, although it looks like they're in difficulty sometimes. They're sent into exile, Kunti is weeping to see her sons put into this difficulty. She stays at Vidura's home during this entire exile time. The pictures on the left is after so many years of an exile, they're to live 1 year incognito, and they stay at King Virata's palace, performing different activities. Of course, Bhima is the cook, and down here Draupadi is the hairdresser, and over there on the left Arjuna is a dance teacher. He teaches the King Virat's daughter, and so forth. Yudhisthira is giving spiritual instructions, tending the cows and tending the horses, these other occupations. So Draupadi is going by this other name, Sairindri. She is too attractive for the chief general, King Virat's liking, and so he gets attracted to her, overwhelmingly attracted to her. He speaks to the king's queen and asks for an arrangement to meet with him. Makes an arrangement for her to bring some special items for him, and he speaks too directly and lustfully, and she doesn't like it. And it happens again and again. She complains to Bhima, do something. This man's out of control and I don't know what he's going to do. And Bhima agrees. I'll take care of it. Then after that conversation comes yet another situation where in the royal assembly, Draupadi, once again, as she was dealt with very badly by Dushasana, this the chief general of King Virat's army tries to grab her, and she wrestles her way and gets released from him, and she's insulted in the royal assembly. Now, Bhima sees all this. He grabs his club. Yudhisthira stops him. So Bhima goes to Draupadi, said, you go to this man and tell him you meet him at midnight. But you won't be there, I'll be there. And Bhima's there. And Bhima finishes him so badly, his body is made into pulp. It's like a little box. And the word goes out. People didn't have text messaging and email and stuff, but that kind of news goes fast. The Kauravas came to know this all-powerful general got pulverized. There's only one person who can do this. And it's still the 1 year of exile. If we go quickly, we can then capture the Pandavas in that 1 year of exile and have another 12 years. So they bring all their armies and start stealing the cows from the cowherdsmen that are under the king's rule. The cowherdsmen go to the king, help! The Kaurava army has come. And the son of the king says, I'll go. I just need a chariot driver. So his name is Bominjaya. And the dance teacher says, I'll drive. I'll be your chariot driver. He said, no, I want a man. I don't want a dance teacher. He said, I know how to drive a chariot. Let's go. So with such confidence they go, and the king's son gets defeated very badly. So Arjuna takes the chariot to the place where they put all of their weapons, celestial weapons and Gandiva bow and everything, from the top of a sal tree? What's the name of the tree? Huh?
Sal tree.
Sal tree. So Arjuna says, "You be the chariot driver. I'll do the fighting." And single-handedly, Arjuna defeats the entire Kaurav army, including Duryodhana and everybody else. Single-handedly. No army, just Arjuna. And then they safely bring all the cows back. So the king, Virat, realizes, wait a minute, you're not just a dance teacher. And this fellow with all the big shoulders is our cook, he's not just a cook. Who are you people? There's only one person that could do this, that you're Arjuna. And so he offers his daughter in marriage and to Arjuna. He said, well, you can't marry your student. The teacher cannot marry their student. But I have a son who's of marriageable age, older than your daughter. Abhimanyu would be a really good husband for your daughter. So that marriage arrangement was made. Abhimanyu, who was the son of Arjuna and Subhadra, became married. And so meanwhile, back in Hastinapur, where Kunti is staying at the home of Vidura, in the last-ditch attempt, Krishna made an attempt to bring peace. Duryodhana rejected it. And during this time, Kunti had many conversations with Krishna, who assured her everything's going to be nice. Kunti then breaks down. I've got to tell Karna he's my son. There's this very emotional exchange, because we're speaking about the illustrious life of Kunti. That's what we're doing this evening. So she bares her heart, profuse apology, explains the whole situation of why she did what she did, why she left her son abandoned, floating down a river in a basket, and not telling him later on. She knew that the one with the coat of armor from the time of his birth. She knew who Karna was. She never told him. She hoped she could prevent the disaster, but it wasn't going to work. He rejected her offer and said, the only one that has shown me friendship in this lifetime is Duryodhana, and I'm with Duryodhana. So the battle begins, and the ghastly battle, so much fighting, so many soldiers are killed. The Abhimanyu is trapped by so many generals. You see the circle of Vyuha, he's right in the middle, and they mercilessly finished him. Katha, one of Bhima's sons, was put in the charge of killing Karna, who was unsuccessful. Finally, Arjuna killed Karna. And all the Kuru elders, including Bhima, were finished. After all of that, Ashvatthama kills the sleeping sons of Draupadi. Later, Ashvatthama tries to kill the one remaining surviving child in the Pandava dynasty, the son of Uttara. After Abhimanyu has been killed, then the battle is over. The funerals are done. The Pandavas now have their kingdom restored, and Yudhisthira becomes the emperor, and then here's the last slide. According to the Bhagavatam, well, it's a slightly different version in Mahabharata than in the Bhagavatam. Here's the Mahabharata version. 35 years after the battle of Kurukshetra, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari decided to go to the forest to give up their bodies. Kunti Devi joined them. That's Mahabharata. Hearing from Arjuna about the disappearance of the Yadus and that Lord Krishna is attaining his abode, Kunti became absorbed in the Lord's with pure devotion and disappeared from the pastimes of the world. This is a different version in the Bhagavatam. Just like in the Mahabharata, it says the Pandavas had to see hell and then they went to heaven. The Bhagavatam says in their self-same body they went back to Godhead. A different version. Kunti, according to the Bhagavatam, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This describes her method of disappearing. Samstrate means from moving clearly, from her appearance for pastimes in this world. She suddenly disappeared. That's Kunti's birth, Kunti's disappearance, and her glorious life. So tomorrow we'll be hearing something about the prayers. As Krishna's, because we left, the battle of Kurukshetra is over, and Krishna is now going to go back to Hastinapur, and that's the scene. Kunti is going to offer prayers to Krishna, please stay, and so many other nice things. Krishna Katha. All these lights are flashing. I don't know what to make of it. This little device, it keeps like blinking red.